Hey, so right here I'm just setting up my quill scene. First thing I'm going to do is go and hide the initial start car. Then I'm going to pick a hull to work with. I'll pick this one. And rather than move it over, I should duplicate it over. Now notice I'm not changing it into a new layer. I'm just moving it over, getting it centered into the little grid that I created. Now I'm going to pick a spoiler for the back. I want this car to have a spoiler, so I'm going to click a spoiler, drag it over, drag it up, and you notice that I'm using the GUI to drag it over. I'm very rarely am I using the just a free hand to drag it over because I want to keep everything as straight as possible. Next I'm going to grab some wheels. I think I'll take the other one. Duplicating it over, and again I'm using the GUI to drag over in my wheels. Now instead of spinning this normally, I'm going to spin it using the GUI system, and with my right trigger I can kind of lock the spin to 15% increments. So this is a way to increment move. Alright, I'm going to take those wheels and I'm actually going to use those wheels again. I'm going to duplicate them up and move them over. I'm going to turn off my transform, my rotate as well, so I could just scale this rather than without moving it. And make those one big wheel. Get it centered. It doesn't have to be perfectly centered. Now, for this next part, I'm actually going to fast forward through this because I don't like the way the wheel looks that thick, and I'm actually going to just do a little bit of modeling on this, basically just taking off some of the shapes. Now that I've got that one done, I'm going to come over to my parts and I'm going to start messing with the parts. So I like this piece. And notice I'm not changing them in different layers. I'm just clicking on them and I'm going to drag them over. I have to turn back on my transform. There we go. Make sure it's selected, duplicate it over, and I'm just going to put these as kind of flare on the sides. They can go anywhere. It's kind of going to be up to you on what you want them to look like, but that's the idea of using a kit to create parts. Okay, let's see what else we got. Put this thing on the very back. Again, just duplicating it over. Maybe that's like some big mufflers or something in the back. Tailpipes. Thought maybe I could fit that on there, but I don't really like it. So you know what? I'm actually going to do some modeling on this part. Let's switch over to my brush tools. And rather than freehand draw a line, I'm going to use the line tools. There we go on one side, and actually I'll select and then select that piece and just drag it over, duplicate it over. And there we go. Perfect. Now that that's done, now it's time to export this scene. Well, let's put a little axis in there. Come back over to my straight line tool, and axes. Doesn't have to be perfect. And here I'm just optimizing all layers. Analyze it, doesn't really matter about this part, but coming over and looking at how I'm going to export this. And for one, I'm going to save my scene. I'm going to save this just as car parts, save. So now I have everything saved as car parts. Come back over, I'm going to rename this to be car V1, hit done. Okay, now it's a new car. And so now I can go in on my parts, I can select all my parts, hit delete, select all my hulls, hit delete, wheels, select the wheels I don't want, hit delete, and then come back over to the spoilers, select the spoilers that I don't want, and hit delete. And now I have a clean scene. There's still the extra car in there, but that's hidden. So right now I'm going to go to save. I'm going to save this as car V1 now. Export settings. Now if you look at my export settings, I have export meshes, bake transformations, export animation. There's no animation. I want to make sure there's UVs exported and material per layer is selected. Once I'm ready, go to change the name to, instead of car parts, we'll call this car V1. It's a little difficult to see that right now. Car V1, hit done, and export. Once that's done, you can go back over to car parts and open up a new car, and you're back to the original scene with all the other parts. And just erase that car that was created and start over with a new one.